streaming. Now we're streaming. Okay.
All right, welcome to Daily Doubt Time, a product of LFI. I'm your host, Daniel Healy, with...
Carl Langley.
All right.
So today's topic is going to be on the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now, for those who do know about this topic, don't spoil it for anybody else. But for those who haven't, I have like a brief series of notes that I have. So I'm just going to. This is not by any metric like a full overview. Like actually, we might want to get Google, the almighty god of information, ready to double check some stuff. And Daniel, feel free to look up anything that I might get wrong. But
all right, no problem.
So the Dyatlov Pass incident, to set the scene, it's January of 1959 of Soviet Russia, and 10 people in total, 8 men and 2 women, go out to an area of Russia called Dyatlov Pass, which is basically just a large series of mountainous regions. I believe that these people were trying to get their hiking certification, like the highest level that they could get, and they figured Dyatlov Pass, good enough.
Yeah.
So they were hiking for a little bit, but one of them got sick and had to go back early. So now the 9 are trekking forward, and they're taking pictures all along the way.
That's right.
And taking journal entries. February 1st, they reach what's known as Dead Mountain, and they set up a camp a few hundred feet from the peak of that mountain. After a couple of weeks, no one's heard from them. Like, not even the dude who, left early. So they get word and call the authorities. February 22nd, the camp is found, the tent covered in a thin layer of snow with holes cut in the side of the tent. And it was determined that these cut marks were made from inside the tent. All of the equipment that the hikers brought was found and neatly placed inside the tent. They found 9 pairs of mild footprints in the snow, which led down the slope of the mountain. Now, notice how I said mild footprints, which meant they weren't running out and booking it off into another direction. Mm-hmm. They were calmly walking down the mountain.
Ugh.
So, after a while, the team found 2 dead bodies under a cedar tree with an improvised campfire. These were the first bodies found, and they were in thin shirts, underwear, and socks. 3 bodies were found a little ways away from the first 2, and they were just wearing pants. All 3 of these bodies were facing the direction of the tent. Some of these 3 bodies had injuries, but it was determined that all of them died of hypothermia. The last 4 of the 5 bodies were determined to have been intoxicated before dying, the last 4 of which were found at the bottom of a hill in the opposite direction of the tent, but close to the tree where the first 2 bodies were found. 3 of these bodies had sustained lethal injuries, like a fracture on the skull. Fractured skull on one of the bodies. 2 of them had punctured lungs, and the last body had a broken nose. And according to the coroner, they looked like it was caused by a car wreck. The last body, 2 of these bodies had empty eye sockets, just no eyeballs at all on them. One of the women was missing her tongue. And all of these injuries, aside from the eye and tongue, were determined to have happened to the bodies while they were still alive. Which, I don't know what the hell, they figured out. I don't know if, they ever mentioned what happened to, the eyes or tongue, but I would love to be the dude that figures that out.
But what did they determine about this whole investigation? What did the Russian government determine about this whole investigation?
Hold up. On May 28th, 1959, the case was dismissed with the final cause of death being labeled as an unknown compelling force which the hikers were unable to overcome. And also, real quick, something I forgot to mention, 3 articles of clothing found on the bodies had abnormal amounts of radiation on them. So, having said all of that about this incident, What exactly do you think happened, Daniel?
All right. So, knowing the facts and what the public knows, because what's stopping the Russian government from not releasing the full report? How do we not know if the lady was missing, if one of the people were missing her ears? How do we not know that?
Right.
Well, here's why I know it's so like why the conspiracy is such a conspiracy. It's because of the radiation. That's why. And I bet you if there was no source of radiation and the workers, there was how many of this?
So again, 3 articles of clothing had abnormal amounts of radiation on them, but they were found on 2 bodies, and those 2 bodies were people who worked at nuclear power plants and people that would develop nuclear bombs. So you could pretty much easily explain, oh well, those were the clothes that they went into the plants with, you know. So that you could easily explain away that, although it would kind of seem obvious then to be like, oh well, they were developing some sort of new holy shit nuke, and the Russians were like, you guys are going into the woods with cameras and fucking journals, we're gonna snipe you so you don't just so happen to accidentally fall into the US's hands.
And well, I'll give you my full opinion on it. So there's the hikers, right?
Yeah.
How many? 10? 10 originally went?
10 originally, 1 got sick and left, so it's 9.
Yeah.
9 bodies that ended up being found.
And I bet you the one that got sick didn't have any radiation on him.
No.
Yeah. So these 9 guys, this is what I see. 9 guys decided to go camping. Go camping out into the Dead Mountain to get that hiking certification that they're trying to get for her, which is cool. And yeah, so all nine of them, they go to Dyatlov. They go to is it Dyatlov Pass? Is that what
it's called? Dyatlov Pass. One of the peaks on Dyatlov Pass is called Death Mountain.
One of the peaks. Okay.
Yeah. Like a pass. I think the definition of a pass is like an area in between 2 mountains. Yeah. So that's probably it.
Yeah, so, these guys, they just want to go camping,
Yeah.
And, they just go camping, and next thing you know, the tent catches on fire because they have a pretty not so well built stove built inside the tent.
Actually brings
show
up
a picture
pretty
of
good
that.
point. So this is a photo of the hikers, and there's probably at least one. So for context, they were pretty serious about the stuff they were bringing. They had an improvised stove. And when I say improvised, I really mean improvised. This dude freaking built it in his backyard. And as you can tell from his jacket, it had a tendency to catch on fire.
And if you notice,
a lot.
Yeah, and if you notice, he's still wearing it, and obviously, I could tell the energy from this picture. He's like, "Hey, I just survived a fire. Check this picture. Look at this pose. Yeah. This could be a dope picture to show my friends."
Yeah, you don't freaking wear a burned jacket if you don't have the braggadocio to just then be like, "Well, I'm gonna fucking wear this thing and show off how much of a big dick OG I am." So clearly, one of the many things that have happened is that they were cooking with this stove in the tent, and they actually did a full autopsy. And one of the things they did find was partially cooked ham and bacon in their stomachs. So what probably happened was they were cooking with the stove in their tent, and as homeboy was packing it back up for easier transport, some of the firewood caught back on fire. And of course, a couple of them were drunk, so they were like, well, we don't have the fucking mental capacity to deal with this shit.
Now that's new. They're drunk. Every time I hear this, I always think, and I just realized that they were drunk, but I've heard about this before. And every time I hear about this, I'm like, man, what were these guys thinking? What could they have done to avoid this? Yeah. Wait, they're drunk. Yeah. And I've got a story to tell about being intoxicated in the woods. So I decide to go camping and test out the theory of, let's see if you're drunk, in the woods, and you got your tent, and I have my own tent. You know, it was, me and Matt went out the tent, went out to the woods, and yeah, we engaged in some drinking of the alcohol, you know, and
social liquidations.
Yeah, social liquidations. But I'm drinking. So anyway, so we're all drinking, we're all having a good time, and I black out. I don't remember from a point. I have it on film. I recorded the entire experience. That could be awesome. We can edit it in, or add it.
That would
as a
get
later
tons
video.
of views.
Yeah. So, as soon as I cut the film, that was my last memory.
Just
Right
out.
when I shut off that camera, it was the last thing I remember was feeling the camera button and clicking off.
Yeah.
And I just went out. I wake up, and I don't know what time is it. I don't have my phone. I don't have my shirt. And this was 2 days ago, right? Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was like 2 days ago, 3 days
Yeah,
ago.
it's Tuesday, so it would have been.
It was on Saturday we did this.
Yeah, so it would be Sunday, so it would technically be 3 days.
Yeah,
ago.
3 days ago, but you know.
Yeah.
And I had no shirt. I had no phone, no glasses.
Yeah, so you couldn't see.
I couldn't see, and I had no way to tell my time or contact anywhere, or my wallet, or my ID.
And you just woke up in a random spot.
Yes, and I woke up on someone's driveway with somebody's blanket on top of me. None of our blankets, because what we did was our camping site was. It was part of a neighborhood, you know, but it was woods in the neighborhood. But it was a nice area you can camp at. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was woods in the neighborhood, and it turns out I ended up in the neighborhood, in someone else's driveway. And I remember waking up, and I'm just like, oh, well, I think I'm in the tent, but why is it so cold? And then when I woke up, I'm on concrete, you know, nothing, someone else's blanket. So I wrapped the blanket. Around me. I take their blanket because I'm not walking out there in the winter.
Yeah, because it's
Saturday.
fucking cold.
Dude, it was like 35 degrees.
Shit.
Yeah, it was freezing.
Yeah.
So I mean, well, not freezing, but you know, it was cold. It was cold for.
Not super cold, but if you're not wearing a shirt, it's fucking
Yes,
cold.
I had no shirt and just my sweatpants and no glass. I didn't even know where I was going. So I'm walking. I don't know what time is it. And I keep walking straight because something tells me in my mind to just go straight.
Yeah.
Go straight. And I kept going straight. And I see this house. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I look at this house and there's these people on top of the house, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not on top of the house, in their house, you know, with the window open. I'm like, oh man, they're awake. I could talk to them. I'm like, yo, what's up? I say, hey. And they were like, oh, there's someone crazy outside. I'm like, I don't need this right now. I don't need people.
I just woke up in somebody's driveway 35 seconds ago. I don't need to deal with people calling the cops on me.
Exactly. I don't need to deal with that. So anyway, they go to the window and they're like, you need help or something? And I'm like, I got 3 questions I need to ask you. Am I still in the neighborhood? That, you know, the neighborhood that I was in?
We ain't giving you our information, doxers.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we're not going to do that. But am I still in the neighborhood? And am I by the camping area? And what time is it? And they were like, it's 1:14 a.m. I'm like, Jesus, 1:14 a.m. Dude, I can't believe it. The sun was up. It was like 2 p.m. when I stopped filming.
The sun was like just now started to come over the horizon. It was just starting to get like that deep shade of purple.
Yeah, because at 2 p.m. is when I canceled our filming. Around 2, 3 is when I shut off the film, and that's when I don't remember. Because I mean, I'm telling you, bottle of Jack Daniels. I mean, that would get and. I remember when I walked back, they ended up telling me where the place was, so I ended up walking there, and I walked there, and I see Matt, and I'm like, Matt, I'm back, and he's like, where the heck were you? And I just remember just talking to him about everything in the tent and going, oh my gosh, I can understand the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Yeah.
Dude, like, this is my theory, all right? Mm-hmm. These guys got drunk, all right? Mm-hmm. They all partied. Their accident happened with their stove. Burned their jacket.
Homeboys,
And the knife cuts that are in the tent are from the inside. And I think they did that so they can air out the tent at another vent because it was probably on fire. They're drunk as hell. They grab a knife. Hey, we should probably cut tent. Okay, cut tent. You know, and they're drunk as hell.
Yeah.
But And then it doesn't understand why they all just got up and left.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I got up and left. I was on alcohol. I was drunk, man.
Your brain just went in that moment, go on adventure now. Just go.
Exactly. So their brain probably went on adventure, and they just went on adventure. Even though they weren't even properly dressed.
Yeah.
They were just drunk. And another thing, when you're intoxicated, you can't tell temperature. You honestly can't. Because I've been intoxicated before in some cold weather with underdress, and I was feeling great.
Yeah.
But your brain is suffering. Your brain is going, hey, this shit hurts. But I mean this stuff hurts. But
it hurts. But like your brain's telling you, like your body's telling you, hey, this shit hurt. And your brain's like, no, it doesn't. I got Corolla in me.
Yeah. It was crazy. So I understand why they all just walked out. I totally understand. It was just alcohol, and they're under the influence. What do you expect? And they're Russians. Can we not state the fact that they're Russians? They probably have premium vodka with them.
I was about to say, yeah, that's a good point. How much?
How much alcohol is in it? Oh my goodness.
Alcohol. Sorry, my fingers are fat as hell. Is in vodka. It is 40% by volume.
Yeah, and 40% is the same version of Jack Daniels. So
they were chocolate wasted at that point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I was. That's exactly the 40%. That 40% I was using.
Yeah, they were out.
Yeah, like I said, we were out too.
They were fucked up.
And the thing is that you can be conscious, because I asked Matt what happened, and he was like, "Dude, were just walking around, and we were aware. I was aware, but I wasn't aware. Yeah. My conscious wasn't aware."
That's the thing I hear about blacking out that makes me not want to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like it.
No, then don't black out. Yeah. Drink to the nice attitude.
Yeah, drink less. But I'm just saying.
I purposely like to. Sometimes I'll go. You know what? I feel like I should just drink to black out. We'll see what happens. Sometimes I do that. I'm dumb like that, but
it's just.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Fuck it, I'll do it for the experience. Yes. But there's a comedian, John Mulaney. He said, for those of you who don't know, blacking out is when your brain goes to sleep, and your brain goes Eye of the Tiger and Soldiers On. And I'm like,
so your brain goes to sleep and your body goes Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, your body's like, I got this.
Yeah.
I can function without the brain.
and that's another reason why they call it the spirits.
Yeah.
The alcohol. Because it's like a spirit controlling you. It's weird. Like when I'm drunk, I'm like, oh, this is a new me. I remember when I was first on, I was like, no, this is different. But again, I understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Now, the whole thing about the eyes and the tongue missing.
Yeah.
But I need to know this, and no one knows this. We don't have any information on how the tongue was cut.
Right.
Was it a clean cut or was it a rough cut? If it was a rough cut, that looks like an animal went in there. If it was a clean cut, that knife that you used to open the tent could probably cut off the thing.
In my research, I remember the coroner did not go into more detail about the tongue. He's just like, the shit's missing. I don't know where it went. The shit's gone. He went into more detail about the eyeballs. He was like, the eyes are missing. It's probably because, like, we found them near a stream. Decomposition mixed with, the water running, the eyes probably fell out that way.
Yeah.
So it's probably like, oh, well, I already mentioned the eye thing. It's probably the same thing that happened to the tongue, guess I won't mention it. But it's like, that's still a pretty weird thing to just not go into detail. Because, like, imagine this. Imagine if you go up, hey, is your car, this make and model? Well, it's gone now, except for the tires. Well, what the fuck do you mean it's gone except for the tires? Go into more detail. Yeah. Like, it's one of those moments where you can't go, shit, I don't know. That's not an answer that you can give in that moment,
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm agreeing with on you here. But I'm also thinking that tongue relates with the radiation. Because it was later found, and this is where the conspiracy kicks in my opinion, is that the radiation. There were two guys were ex-employees of a nuclear top secret. One of them had top secret clearance or something like that.
One of them had top. I think they were actually currently employed at the time of the hike.
Oh.
Yeah, so they weren't fired recently. Not that, if that ends up being wrong, then probably when I edit this I'll put like a citation or note. But I'm just, as far as I'm aware, like one of them had top secret clearance, and they were both current employees of like nuclear facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that's when I think the Russian government gets involved.
Yeah.
Because I bet you when the authorities found their bodies, they also found the source of the radiation. I think they probably do that because radiation, it decays.
Yeah.
Radiation just does that.
Yeah.
And it decays over time.
Yeah.
And I bet. And how long did it take for them to find him?
So actually, they were reported. Actually, that's a good question.
Yeah. How long were they taking?
Is there a timeline of this? So this is the victims. So, 20th of February, the relatives reported them missing, and then actually, let me go back to my notes.
Oh, they would return February 12th.
Yeah.
The plan was to return February 12th.
Yeah, so February 20th, they demanded a rescue operation, and then on 26th, they found the tent and stuff. So it took them
1 day.
About a week.
Wait, 26th to the 20th. Oh, the 20th. Oh, wow, my gosh, I said 1 day.
Yeah, the 20th.
6 days. All right, I want you to look up half-life of uranium.
Half-life of shit.
4 billion years.
Well
Decays. Okay, well, look up like radiation half-life, different radioactive materials half-life.
Yeah.
Because if we find a radioactive material that lasts,
Radioactive decay.
Radioactive decay, yes.
Radioactive decay.
Of uranium, what are some popular nuclear elements that the Soviet Union used?
Radium. Actually, that's another good one.
Because what I'm thinking is that two of the employees decided to take some uranium or some radioactive material and show it off to their friends at the tent because they're intoxicated, and they just want to do that. And they just show it off, and that was their downfall. The radiation got to their clothes, they were drunk, and if you notice, you see how their bodies were facing the tent when they died?
Yeah.
The alcohol probably wore off, and it was too late.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, get back to the tent, and they were facing the tent, and they died. Because that's what happened. I woke up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which way do I face? Which way do I face? And I remember, I had a feeling that it was facing over, and I was facing the right direction to our tent when I returned. I just had to keep walking straight. But, francium has the shortest, but francium is the rarest material. There's no way that
there's
they
no
would
way they
have
have that. I was trying to
francium.
find
Radioactive, popular, just look up, what radioactive material did the Soviets use?
Yeah. Actually, that's what is used in nukes.
Uranium,
Plutonium 239 and uranium 235.
Okay, look up plutonium 239's half-life. And then uranium 235's half-life. Because we looked up uranium's half-life, but not. Okay?
That doesn't help.
I'm just trying to see if there's any material.
But then again, you have to take
that
into
lasts
fact this was like the 1950s, so they didn't know any of this shit.
Well, now this is what I think. I think this. I think that the radioactive material was still intact.
Yeah.
Maybe the radioactive material was still intact and ready to.
Why do they have this in such the long number form?
Okay, so it's a bunch of years. Okay, so this right here even proves my
It's
my
a long
my
ass
thing.
time.
Is that it's a long ass time. So if they showed up and they had radioactive material,
Yeah.
They could have found it. They should have found it, and they definitely did, because radioactive material is so traceable, especially in the 50s with the Geiger counter, dude.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is find it, and then and boom, they found the giant source of radiation.
Yeah.
And I bet you the Russian government was like, yo, this is an embarrassment that these two workers decided to take some uranium without us knowing and go camping.
We essentially let a whole bunch of drunk high schoolers walk off with a nuke's worth of...
High schoolers?
No, they were like 20 years old.
Okay.
But you know, like, who knows? Maybe in Russia they get held back a couple of years. But I'm just saying, we essentially just let a whole bunch of drunk high schoolers waddle off with enough, radiation to make a nuke, and they wound up dead in the middle of a forest.
Yeah.
We need to get this shit sorted out.
So yeah, exactly. And I just can't believe that the source wasn't determined, that the radiation source wasn't found. That doesn't make any sense, because
even if they had the two dudes that were working in the plant hadn't been in there for like a week, let's say, that should at the very least be enough time for the radioactive material on their clothes to dissipate at least a little bit, I think. Because everything is naturally radioactive in some extent. So you would think that, over time, them going in and out of a plant a couple of times, well then our high levels of radiation on our clothes, because of where we're at, would dissipate, but it doesn't. It just stayed at abnormal levels. So, there's something there, I think, with that,
I believe that the Russian government found the uranium or plutonium and was like, take it, let's go, because looks like, and they're drunk. You gotta remember, they were drunk. How do you know if one of the ones who were missing their tongue was like, hey, we should lick it? and they licked it and their tongue disintegrates. I mean, think about it. That's why he didn't talk about the tongue so much.
I want to disagree with you so badly, but I'm part of me deep down is you know what? That probably was the drunkest one
That's
of
the
them
drunkest,
all.
Yeah. I mean, that's something drunkest. That I mean, your mind is.
I can't think about it like this, Daniel. You woke up in someone's driveway when you got super drunk. Imagine what that dude must have been like when a radio he's some dude one of his friends hey dude, guess what I got? I got a nuke. He's like, bro, really? Let me taste it.
Yeah, but that's what happened. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Dyatlov Pass incident. Yeah. And it's so controversial and a conspiracy.
Yeah. Conspiratory.
Conspiratory. Yeah. Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah. I'm not too far off in that. I think what mainly happened is it started off as a nice little hiking trip. And the two dudes, probably what it was, because, I've been at a job for a while, and this is probably what it is. The two dudes were I don't know if we're going to make it. My boss is on my ass about all these vacation days. And finally, they got the approval, and they were like, oh, hell yeah. And then they were like, well, hey, we got this cool job. We don't talk about it much with our friends. Let's smuggle a little tiny piece of our job to show our friends. And then they go off. They have this nice little hike, and they party at the peak of it, and they get fucked up.
Yes.
Jesus should have came down and smacked them. That's how fucked up they were.
Now, about the whole job thing. Now, people might be thinking, wait, so I thought people working at nuclear power plants go to a lot of these tests to be tested on their maturity by the Soviet Union hired them, so they had to go through the top level kind of questioning to become an employee, an interview. But if you look at the pictures, they look like goof heads.
Yeah,
they look like goofballs.
This is my favorite one because look at this dude. Huh. This looks like someone we know. This honest to God looks like Mullet Mike to me. I don't know what it's the face primarily. Apologies to Mullet if you're seeing this somehow and you want to punch me after saying that, but it's just, this looks like the kind of braggadocious type dude that would this is like his personality right here. Like this picture encapsulates captures exactly who he is. He's the kind of dude who's like, even though he's on fire, decides to do a superhero pose and just be like, fire can't kill me. I'll just rub some dirt on it and I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that right there. I mean, it shows that they weren't in the right mindset and they were drunk.
Yeah.
And the Russian government, if they release the full detail, if they release what I'm saying to you, and they said that was all true, that some girl decided to lick radiation and get, if they said that, you know how bad that would look on Russia's like history? They would look back and be like, remember the time a bunch of teenagers decided to take some uranium out of a nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union during the space race?
Like, worst case scenario, they would be the fucking global laughingstock for at least 10 years, you know? Because, I mean, I guarantee you the president at the time, because, again, this was 1959. So probably
Khrushchev.
Yeah, so Eisenhower probably at the time, like the United States president would be like, and here we have the fucking Soviets who let children lick their most dangerous assets.
And exactly.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union would not take that risk. They would not ruin their name like that. That's why this is so conspiracy. And I believe 100% what I said. I feel like that is what happened. Because, I mean, if I was the Soviet Union, me personally, if I was there, if I was the president, I would not want that to be released.
I would not either.
Not at all.
Yeah. I would, probably do exactly the same thing that they, but, again, I think they went off into the woods, the 9 of them. The 2 that had, like, they got fucking hammered one night, homeboy cooked him up some, like, bacon and some ham. He was putting shit back up. And then that was the moment they were like, hey, shit's winding down. You want to hit him with the rock? And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking? What's the rock that you're talking about? They break out like this glowing rock. And they were like, they put this in the bombs to kill the Americans, dude. It's like, really? And they just kind of like each took turns like passing it around and looking at it for like a little bit. Probably like there was like the most hammered one was like, I want to lick it. And just stuck the tongue out. And one of them was... like, the second drunkest was probably like, well, let me rub it on there. And they did that.
Again, alcohol's called the spirits. It's like you get possessed by a spirit.
Yeah.
It's like you get possessed by spirit. And that you have that takes over your body.
Yeah.
And I bet you if they were sober, if they would never think about licking, who the hell would think about licking radiation unless they have a death wish?
Yeah.
Unless one of them secretly had a death wish to kill everybody here or something to try to get everyone killed. But that's my 2 cents on the Dyatlov Pass.
But yeah, after probably the homeboy that was packing up the grill was then probably like, oh, that's cool. And then he dropped something. A fire happened, and again, this is a close tent because it's cold as fuck there. So they were like, shit, what do we do? They're drunk. Their immediate, ideas of what the hell to do, they'll go out the window. So trying to, like, put it out, like, the manual way, which is probably what Homeboy did over here, which is why he no longer has a good jacket. They tried putting it out, and that didn't fucking work. So then what they did is they tried to cut holes in the tent to try and vent it. That didn't work, so they were like, okay, well, the fucking tent's fire now. We need to go. And the drunkest one of them all, the one that licked the rock, probably just booked it off into the woods. And then 3 others were like, they have a good idea. Let's follow them. And probably around the same time that they realized that was a bad idea, they turned around. And then that's when they fell over and died of hypothermia, probably. Or probably, like, tumbled down a mountain somewhere. Because, again, like, it was determined that some of their injuries looked more comparable to a car wreck than anything else. So, a fall is involved there. Where, like,
An avalanche. An avalanche could have happened. A fall would have happened. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing that fucks me up is that, again, 2 of them were found under a cedar tree with a like an improvised campfire. So those 2 were probably the most sober out of everyone. And they probably started following like the gang of like the varying drunkards, and they thought, this is a bad idea. Let's go back to, the base camp. They found a tree. They were like, we're so exhausted. Let's set up a fire. And they just slowly died as they stared at a fire, just hoping to God, please let this snowfall die out. This would really suck. And then they probably died. That's what fucks me up. Just imagining like that turmoil, you know. Meanwhile, you got the rock licker booking it off into like the woods, and tripping and falling, just stumbling down. Like, I shouldn't be laughing, but I am. But yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents on the Dyatlov Pass. It should probably be called stupidity, alcohol, and radiation rocks.
Yeah, it should be. This should be an alcohol PSA, something like that. Yeah.
Don't drink too much, kids. And if you drunk, especially, do not handle radioactive material, because freaky shit will happen.
Yeah.
Do you want to end up like this guy? This guy could have had a nice, happy family, but instead he had to bring a rock and have one of his friends lick it. When we started recording this 35 minutes ago, this was not where I thought it would go. Being completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd say, but yeah, I think. I mean, this is my. I think I gave my points of what I think about it. Have you given all your points? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I've said pretty much everything I've wanted to say.
All right. Then this is Daily Downtime and the stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Follow us on Twitch. Tell your friends. I mean, come on.
Share this 1,000 times.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Share
People
it
need to
with
know
10
about
friends,
this stuff.
20 friends. Yeah. If you like this, stay tuned because we're going to have some more of this coming down the pipeline. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
So, see ya.